Today I'm going to show you how I make homemade chili, one of the ways, and some homemade soft flour tortillas for the ultimate but simple chili cheese burritos. Here we go. So I'm going to start by using the recipe right out of my cookbook for soft homemade flour tortillas. For those of you that have the cookbook, I appreciate that, and for those of you wondering where you can purchase, I will put in the description below. I'm going to use shortening today. I'm actually using Crisco butter flavor shortening. Use lard or butter, it all works. Okay, so I have my flour in the bowl. I'm going to add baking powder and salt, and then I'm going to give that a good mix. You'll want to mix all the dry ingredients in the bowl first. Now I'm going to add some softened shortening. This is the butter flavored shortening because I have it. Use what you got. And just start breaking that apart and mixing it into the dry ingredients. I like to use clean hands when mixing my dough. You can use a mixer, it's up to you. Okay, so I'm going to eventually add 1 cup of hot water, as hot as your hands can take it. I have a hot water dispenser, that's what I'm using. You can start with a wooden spoon and then I'm going to add the rest of that. Just give that a mix, and I like going in, like I said, with my clean hands. And I'm going to work in the water into the flour until it starts to shape and form a dough ball. So for those of you that have tried to make homemade flour tortillas and it just doesn't come out, one tip I like to give everyone is working with hot water, adding little by little, and you'll notice I added my water, and this is what you're looking for, soft, tacky dough. If it's still dry and there's still flour, then you can add a tablespoon of hot water at a time until the dough comes together. But if you mix everything and the dough is not stretchy and it's kind of dry, then you need to add more water into the mix. This is just going to help the overall texture towards the end. Okay, so on my clean work surface, you notice I didn't even add flour to the work surface because it's a good ratio to work with. So I've kneaded it for about 10 minutes until it's kind of smooth on the surface, and it's still kind of soft and stretchy. So what I'm going to do is just use my hands to rip off pieces of the dough, and I'm going to start dividing this into dough balls. I probably will get somewhere like maybe 13 to 16 dough balls. It just depends how evenly you divide it. I kind of eyeball things. You know how I do things here. But if you want something more even, then definitely weigh the dough and divide accordingly. So after shaping each dough ball, I'm just going to place it right back into my bowl. And for those of you wondering, I get a lot of questions on the bowl that I'm using. I purchased at my local Korean grocery store, H Mart. It is a rice mixing bowl. I don't know where you can purchase it online. Over the years, every time I use this bowl, I have people that ask where I get the bowl, and it was from my local grocery store, Korean grocery store. Okay, so I have all of these back into the bowl. What I like to do is add a damp cloth, tea cloth. Here I'm using just paper towels, kitchen towels, and it's going right over, and you'll want to rest the dough. Okay, let's make the chili. Here in a preheated pan with cooking oil, I'm adding lean ground beef. It's 1 pound. It's like an 85-15 meat to fat ratio. I'm going to break that apart, and I'm doing a terrible job at doing that. But break it apart, and you'll want to cook and brown. You could essentially use store-bought chili seasoning and make this a really easy recipe, but I'll show you what I like to add. So here I have a little bit of salt, garlic powder, onion powder, and pepper that I just kind of mixed, and it's going in. I will put ingredients and ratios in the description below. Here I'm going to add a little bit of ground cumin. I'm also going to add some beef bouillon powder. Remember, it has salt and beef bouillon powder. That's kind of salty. Some chili powder. That's light fancy chili powder. Here I have smoked paprika going in. And now I'm just going to mix that and cook, brown everything together. And I'm working with like a medium to medium high heat. Okay, so this is cooked through. Now I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of tomato paste into the mix here. And I'm just going to mix that up. I want it to sort of like combine and saute a little bit. It just sort of intensifies the flavor. A little bit goes a long way because remember, it is like this concentrated form of tomato. Now I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of chopped chipotle peppers in adobo sauce. This is one of my favorite ingredients for chili. If you don't have it, you can leave it out. And if you want this spicy, add like double or triple the amount. Like I said, taste, salt, seasoning, spices, the ratios of all those things are to your preference. Okay, So now going in with a heaping tablespoon of all-purpose flour, I'm going to work that in. Let the flour cook for about a minute, and you just kind of combine it with any residual fat or cooking oil left in the pan. Now I'm going to add probably like a 1/3 cup to a 1/2 cup of water in this entire pot of my chili. But this is going to thicken as soon as it hits the pan, and you want to pick up any fond at the bottom. Really, that flour kind of creates a crust at the bottom, so I'm going in with more water. Okay, some of you might not like this ingredient, but this is what I do when I'm making like hot dog chili. It thickens the chili, and it tastes really good on hot dogs, by the way. I like to add a cup of refried beans. These were leftover refried beans. If you have canned refried beans, just maybe use the can or a cup, and you'll want to give that a really good mix. You'll notice everything's kind of thickened in the pan or pot. I do want this to simmer. So at this point, I'm probably going to add another 1/2 cup of water and let this simmer with a lid for about 15-20 minutes. Just be careful adding tons of water. You don't want this soupy. You do want it thick. So cover, and I will definitely lower this to a very low heat and let it simmer gently. Okay, so my tortilla dough has rested. Time to roll these out. Lightly dust your work surface. I have a rolling pin. You'll want to dust the rolling pin. And these are so soft and well rested. If you rush this process, it's going to make rolling out so hard. You have to make sure that you rest the dough balls for minimum like 15 minutes, 10-15 minutes. And once you roll the dough out, you'll know instantly if it needs to rest longer, because it'll start to shrink back, and it's so tough. That means the gluten has not relaxed and it needs to rest. So you notice I'm rolling this out and it's not really shrinking back. That's perfect. You want this to be nice and rested dough so it doesn't fight you back when you go to roll it out. Okay, so do the best you can. Roll it into a circle or roll it into whatever shape, because it's gonna still taste good. Okay, and I know a lot of people like to roll thin, some like a thicker tortilla. It really is up to you. This is kind of what I'm working with today. Okay, so I like to rest the dough or the rolled out dough on the side of the bowl and just keep going. I do about 4 or 5 before I start to cook these. So for the type of cheese, for these chili cheese burritos that I'm making, I like American cheese. This is just shredded American cheese, or go for mild cheddar. It works. Or use whatever you like. Okay, so I have my griddle preheated and it's time to put these on the griddle. One indication that the griddle or pan that you're working with is preheated well is when it reacts just like this. The dough should start to kind of bubble and react within like 10 seconds of hitting the pan. If it takes too long, you need to crank up the heat. I have this at the highest setting, 500 degrees Fahrenheit. I like using this when my stove is busy. I like to make these on this griddle. So because the dough kind of rested on the side of the bowl after rolling it out, it does this. It gets these beautiful air pockets. You know it, the center is cooked through. And that's just kind of how I make my flour tortillas. Practice makes perfect. So I hope you have success. Okay, I like to just wrap them up in this towel, this pie basket, to keep them warm, and you continue the process. So to be quite honest, chili cheese burritos are right up there with bean and cheese burritos. And sometimes I just call them tacos. People say they're burritos, whatever you call them. It's just something that's so simple, but when you put in the extra effort to make your own tortillas and like the homemade chili and season how you like, it's just something special. It's just top tier burritos, in my opinion. And it is a very humble opinion. But these are just family favorite recipes, sometimes that I like to share with you. Some of you might find them strange. Some of you have had them, and it just is something nostalgic for you. Same here. That's why I like to share these things. Okay, so this is going to take some time. I'm going to keep going on cooking these up. And I want to show you the end result. I've been making soft flour tortillas for a very long time, and sometimes I have bad days, but today these are perfect. Soft, pliable, they're gonna roll up perfectly for my soft chili cheese burritos. Okay, so let's check on the chili. This is done. It has been simmering for probably close to like 20 minutes. Give this a mix and it's perfect. Great consistency for these chili cheese burritos. Very thick and savory. Okay, so here we go. Very simple. You get your tortilla, and even if you're using store-bought tortillas, no judgment here. It all works. Add the cheese and chili. I'm gonna add a little more cheese on top. It really is up to you if you like it extra cheesy. Sometimes I even add cheese right into the pot of chili because we're gonna eat it all up anyway. So just give that a wrap. You can kind of do like the full burrito where it's completely enclosed and toss it back onto the griddle to get it toasty, but this is how we do it. I also like to add pickled jalapeno slices into the mix. It's so good. Or your favorite salsa. Really, really good meal. So I hope you give this recipe a try. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching.